Hi guys, this is Christina and it is Monday's New Hope, and this week's topic is going to be ways to stop yourself in the middle of a bad decision. And with the eating disorder recovery, slips may happen, and I know that you've all heard this like a bazillion times already, but I feel that it's never enough and that I myself need to hear it again from time to time, so that's why I'm gonna say it also to you. Within the recovery process, slips might happen. They are normal, it's okay to have them, and we don't need to panic if they are going to be there. Now, the most important thing within these slip-ups, I believe, it's the way you are approaching them and what you learn from them. And when I say the way that you're approaching them, I mean, are you aware of the causes that brought you here? Do you know what to do the next time when you're going to face maybe the same situation, the same trigger, and how to cope with them in order not to have again a slip-up and stay in recovery? Now, I myself am in this process, and slip-ups have happened, and I'm sure that they might happen again. One of the most important things I believe that I've discovered that works when you have a slip-up or just before a slip-up, or when you're in the middle of a behavior crisis, is trying to distinguish between your eating disorder voice, so the part of you that is telling you to do these behaviors, and the other part of you that is the rational part of you, the one that knows that you don't need to act on these thoughts or to act on these urges in order to cope with some situation that you're dealing with. If you're not doing this already, trying to distinguish between these two parts of yourself may take a while. It can be shorter or longer, it depends on every one of us. But once you've managed to recognize your real voice from the eating disorder voice, it's very important to try to make them communicate between themselves. For a lot of people, once they've discovered the eating disorder voice, they manage to keep it under control by talking back to this voice. Me, in my case, it didn't work so well talking back to it, but I discovered this thing that actually works for me, and I think that if you are able to try it, if you are open enough to try this thing, it can really be helpful. So if you're going to try it, just let me know how it works. I try to see myself as an observer of these two parts of me. So it's like I see myself like, let's say, a sphere, you know? So let's say this is my brain. I'm somehow getting here up and watching myself and my thoughts and my eating disorder voice. And there's this part of me that is healthy, knows exactly what I need, is rational, and it's the real me that I was born with. And then there's this other part that is the eating disorder part, that is telling me bad things about myself, is telling me I'm fat and I'm ugly and I don't deserve to be loved, and so on and so forth. So I see these two put together, but I know that myself is actually this part. And what I see here is the fact that the other part came from somewhere from outside, because it wasn't here from the beginning since I was born. It came from outside and is now trying to cover all the place within myself. And my struggle here is to empower and reinforce my real self in order not to let the other part to cover the the space of myself. I know it might sound a bit like a fairy tale, a story, or might not sound realistic. I know I'm trying to explain it in this way in order for you to understand it. It's not that I actually see these two parts when I'm actually thinking at stuff, you know. No, it's just that I try to observe myself from an outside point, and I observe my thoughts. Usually, when I'm about to take a bad decision influenced by these bad parts of myself, me, Christina, the third part, the observer, I'm witnessing these thoughts, watching them, and try to analyze them. So that means you really need to be aware whenever you're about to have a bad decision, whenever you're about to act on a binge. Try to be aware on it. If you're not gonna be able to stop it every time, and you're probably not, and that's perfectly okay, just observe it. If you only observe what you're doing, your thoughts and your acts, it's good enough. Once you manage to observe them, the best situation that you can find in order to get out of a bad decision is to try to make the two parts communicate between themselves. Not necessarily talking back to the bad eating disorder voice, because I've found that many times when I try to talk back at it and try to see it as an enemy, it doesn't really work for me, because it's not quite true, you know, because it's not an enemy, it's not another identity of myself. There are just different thoughts in my head. So the best way I can work with them is make them communicate, and maybe try to make them negotiate between themselves. Because if I try to talk back to them, if I try to deny them, they will only come back stronger and stronger, and they will keep being in my head. They will not disappear just for the simple act of telling them no. Now, the way that I communicate, I make them communicate, and I try to make them negotiate, is actually speaking with myself, with the voice, sometimes even speaking out loud. And I'm not lying to you when I'm saying that it happened during the urges that I had in the past, to speak out loud on the street with myself. I'm just kind with myself. Then there are other times when negotiating will work really well. When the eating disorder voice is urging you to do some type of behavior, just try to negotiate with them. For example, if it's telling you to binge on some foods, one of the negotiation could be like, you will agree with the eating disorder to eat something, but eat only a piece of it. And tell this in your mind, okay, I want to binge on this. I'm going to have one piece, but I'm not going to eat it in the binge mode. I'm going to eat it slowly. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to be aware of it. So I'm going to have a piece. If after this piece I will still want to binge on all this food, I will allow myself to binge. And this actually somehow it comforts my eating disorder voice, and it's not becoming louder. It's actually getting more quiet. After having that piece, I'm asking myself again, do I still need to binge? If I still do, I'm gonna say, okay, let me just have one more piece, allow my taste buds to really feel it, and after the end of this piece, I will ask again, and if I will still feel the need to binge, I will binge on them. And actually this happened many times, and it usually after the second or the third piece, my binge urge was much less powerful, much less demanding. So Yeah, if you've tried the method of talking back to your eating disorder voice while you're in a slip up or bad decision, and if it doesn't work, maybe try to negotiate with this in this way. Usually when we say no to things, like, you know, the famous thing, don't think at a pink elephant. What are you thinking now about? A pink elephant. That is the role of no in front of things. It's not very helpful, so try to negotiate it. Let me know if it works. I'm really curious because I've never heard anyone else saying about this thing. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about is, except being aware of your slip up and observing it, try to identify the situation, so the trigger that led you here. Once you identify it, you may find during the bad decision, during the slip up, find different ways to cope with the trigger. So let's say I had another period during my recovery when it was very difficult for me to eat dinner. I was restricting myself from dinner because I wasn't feeling very hungry and I really wanted to lose weight, and I just I wanted to eat it. I wanted to eat it because I really wanted to recover, and I know I should eat it. I wanted to be healthy again. I didn't want to have this eating disorder anymore. But there was something inside me that was yelling out not to have dinner and not to eat. I was actually balancing between the two decisions. Should I eat this dinner or not? And I used to put different aspects on the both plates. On the not eating dinner plate, I used to put, why don't I want to eat dinner? I used to ask myself, am I not hungry? Yes, I was hungry. Okay, then still, why don't I want to eat dinner? Do I think I am too fat and I need to lose weight, so that's why I don't want to eat dinner? Yes, the response was yes. Okay, perfect. Now, once I've discovered the trigger, so this was the response to my restricting behavior, I try to cope with this and to try to satisfy this need of mine in another way. It's going to be very difficult, especially in the beginnings of recovery, just to convince yourself that you are not fat, that you are thin enough, and that it's okay to eat dinner. It's too far away to arrive exactly here, because from the step where you are now in the beginning of your recovery until the level where you should say to yourself that you are not fat and you are thin enough and really believe it in order to avoid the behavior, there are like a lot of steps in between, and you cannot jump them. So one of the steps in between could be that of saying, will the fact that I'm not gonna eat this dinner make me thinner tomorrow? No. And here you need to use your rational voice and say to yourself, the fact that I'm not gonna eat dinner tonight will not going to make me thinner tomorrow. In order to be thinner the way that I want to, I need to restrict myself from eating dinner at least, I don't know, a month. Do I, me, myself, the real Christina that I was born, not the eating disorder voice that came into my life after that, really want to skip dinner for a whole month in order to be 2-3 pounds thinner? No, I don't want this, because I started a recovery journey and I want to go on. And also trying to find some different coping solutions to your situation. Once you ask yourself why do you need to do that behavior, once you find the answer, try to find other ways to cope with it. Myself, for example, I found that they're not very helpful for me, the very practical ways, like things that are useful for a lot of people, like taking a bath, take a long walk, call a friend, call mom, write in the journal. I don't know why, but they don't comfort me very much. The thing that I found is comforting me is talking to myself with a kind voice. The thing that I told you before, like seeing myself from somewhere outside, from an outsider point, and telling me that everything's gonna be alright, that I'm okay, I'm self. I imagine myself like a little kid, and this outer identity of myself that is taking care of the little kid. Don't be afraid to speak with yourself and comfort you and have this kind of different identities that are speaking between them. Okay, I hope that these tips might help you in some way. If you plan on trying them, let me know if they worked or not. I hope you will all have a great week and see you next time. Bye!